that they are vetted and the register of the professionals is cleaned and is not amorphous as it is right now, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, when the bill is divided into 9 sections, Madam Speaker, and it has gone through the stages, the preambles, the merits, and the boards that will be formed, Madam Speaker. And from our perspective, we find that it is a bill that is long overdue, and we seek to support it on the committee perspective. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Nyatike, Honorable Tom Odenge. He's left? Oh, there he is. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and allow me to congratulate my brother for coming up with this timely bill before the House. As a country, I think we have lagged behind for quite too long. If you look at the social work we are trying now to classify and make ring fence for the professionals, in all developed countries all over the world, this thing has been done, and most of the social workers now who are coming down here to train our people, majority of them got their training, especially in America, because we were doing social work, but we never knew it was such an important profession which needed such kind of recognition and protection. By coming out as a country and giving these people an act which can protect the services they are giving to our people, I think it's timely. Because when you talk of social work, you'll realize in the health sector, they play a key role. When you go to educational sector, they play a key role. Even if you go back to the community, the social aspect is key to our people. But if we come out and encourage our people to train as social workers, and again we encourage them to protect themselves so that the government and ourselves can also recognize them as professionals and be given duties and jobs which are commensurate to the services we are getting from them, I think this one is going to give us key element which we have been lacking as a country and make it more professional and attractive as a profession and a ladder of people who can either employ themselves or be employed and strengthen our county functions. If you look at the county government currently, the key services offered by the county are based on social activities. If you get people who are trained on those things, you realize counties will be better and will be offering very, very key services to our people, which majority of us have not realized are needed by our people most. So by recognizing and professionalizing the issues related to social work, I think this one is timely and it's good for our people. Just like the way our Minority Whip was putting it across, how it helped them in their home. She saw it when our mother was doing the job. So if that thing helped them from the family level until 8 of them got educated, why don't we also encourage ourselves and make this thing be more attractive to most of our people so that we professionalize it and protect it for our needed services so that our people can also enjoy social activities and social services within our counties and within our families. I thank you, Madam Speaker, and I support.
Honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence of the following schools in the public gallery. Rockside Academy from Embakasi East Constituency, Nairobi County. And also the Kendrick School from Kajiado North Constituency, Kajiado County. And I'll call upon Honorable Ngongoya to welcome the schools on our behalf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to welcome the 2 schools, the one from Embakasi East and Kenvic from Kajiado North. Madam Speaker, Kenvic is a very good and performing school in Ololua ward of Kajiado North. As the area member of parliament, I want to tell them that parliament is a good place to work. This is where decisions for this country are made. And I would ask them to work hard so that part of them in the gallery and even in their school will have somebody to come and represent Kajiado North in this constituency. This is a good place to work. It's one of the places where ideas and policies are decided, and parliament makes decisions that affect the whole country from this very small place. So welcome very much, work hard in your studies, and I'm sure you will one day find yourself where I am seated today. So as Ngogoyo Onesmus, your area member of parliament, I am happy to welcome all the schools, and more specifically Kenvic, which is a good school in my constituency. Thank you very much.
The Honourable Member for Marakwet West, Honourable Timothy Toroitich.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for giving an opportunity to contribute on this very important bill. Honourable Speaker, from the onset, I wish to thank the Honourable Kimilu for this progressive legislation which seeks to recognize and protect social workers in this country. Honourable Speaker, recognizing a body is very essential in determining the output of that particular body. The reason why lawyers in this country, Honourable Speaker, work within specified, in terms of, they are able to discharge their duties without any compromise is because they have a professional body which is the Law Society of Kenya. Honourable Speaker, for the social workers to have a body, it will be very important in terms of regulating them. And therefore, they must be able also to stipulate to a certain kind of professional, in terms of the performance of their duties so that they can be able to work properly within that system. Honourable Speaker, as a lawyer, you are aware that before sentencing is meted to a person in a court of law, there is what you call a probation report that is submitted by a probation officer. Honourable Speaker, sometimes these officers are compromised and they submit reports before the law, before the courts of law, which are half-baked or have been corrupted in a certain manner. Honourable Speaker, if you read this, if you look at this proposed piece of law under section clause 29, it provides very clearly on the discipline of members of that body. It says under clause 29 that a person registered under this act commits an offense on an act of professional misconduct if the person engages in corrupt practice, among other professional misconduct that is listed thereunder. Honourable Speaker, that means that even innocent people, those who have been taken to a court of law, and the court gives a directive that a probation report be issued by that particular officer, that officer must know that she is working as a professional officer and therefore must issue a report that is not compromised. That is going to protect even innocent individuals who have been charged in a court of law, and therefore when the court awaits that report must meet that particular threshold. Honourable Speaker, the only challenge I have with this legislation is that it needs a clear definition as to social work, because this bill limits those officers working under that department to the sector of health, education, or social services. I believe that the other officers who are working as social workers under other departments. So, Honourable Speaker, that definition needs to be looked at so that it should accommodate more sectors in this country. Honourable Speaker, I also wish to congratulate the member, because if you look at the issue of funding, many professions in this country want to depend on the exchequer in terms of funding. But this one has talked about its own source of revenue. So, Honourable Speaker, something which is commendable. And if you look at clause 34, it talks about the source of funds for this body. And it says such monies or assets as may accrue or vest in the council in the course of performance of its powers and functions. And 2, such monies that as may be payable to the council pursuant to the act, donation or gifts. It doesn't depend on the national, on the exchequer for its funding. So I believe this is the way to go for professional bodies in this country instead of depending on the exchequer for its funding. Honorable Speaker, for that reason, I support, save that I shall be proposing amendments when it comes to the committee of the whole House. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Arieda, Honorable Atienda Amolo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support this bill by the Honorable Joshua Kivinda Kimilu. I have gone through this bill, and in the shortest possible time, I wish to express my support for it. I am the son of a social volunteer who volunteered for 40 years when he was alive, and I support the idea of social work. The distinction perhaps being that a volunteer need not be paid, but once you say social work, it might bring elements of pay. Madam Speaker, I have gone through the bill. I think it will need some fine-tuning. It will need some fine-tuning around the definition of social work. It will need some fine-tuning around registration of a social worker, around the Institute for Social Work, and around the offenses. Particularly in the definition, it will need to be shielded from other areas that sometimes are described as social work. Some people sometimes loosely call the oldest profession, that is sex workers. Sometimes they're loosely referred to as social workers. Now we must shield and ring-fence the definition in such a way that there is no possibility. I see the Honorable KJ, in whose constituency perhaps a lot of these workers reside protesting. And he did not hear that. Now, Madam Speaker, with that, I support. Thank you very much.
What's your point of order?
Madam Speaker, I'm just kindly seeking for protection because, you know, the Honorable Otiende is a man of letters. He's studied language very well. But Madam Speaker, the point that he was making is a very serious point that he should not have watered down with a cheeky comment. The truth of the fact is, true social workers are the oldest profession in the world. But the cheeky comment that he makes, it dilutes the point that he wanted to make. And Madam Speaker, allow me not to repeat what he has said because it was totally out of context. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, I think Honorable Otiende Molo just said that we need to have a proper definition of who are social workers because there are various categories. But I don't think he made any insinuations. Okay, honorable members, allow me to interrupt our debate. Honorable members, allow me to interrupt our debate to recognize the presence of Gilgil Day Secondary School from Gilgil constituency, Nakuru County, who are seated in the public gallery. And I'd like to request Honorable Martha Wangari, member for Gilgil, to welcome them on our behalf.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And allow me to also thank the Office of the Clerk because it has been very helpful and efficient in ensuring that we are able to clear our schools to visit Parliament. This session we are doing very well and I hope that we can maintain. Madam Speaker, allow me to join you in welcoming Gilgil Day Secondary School. We had another team yesterday, like I said, Madam Speaker, because our school is quite huge. So we are doing 2 delegations from yesterday. And I would just want to wish them well, and as they hold to their mantra that knowledge is power, I hope that they can be able to learn something today as they observe the interactions and hasten the proceedings of this House and also encourage them, because it's just a few years, then we'll have some of them becoming members of Parliament and other leadership positions, Madam Speaker. I hope that we can also be very good role models to them and to generally the kids who are visiting, Madam Speaker. So thank you for indulging me, and I welcome them to the House. Asante sana.
Thank you very much. The Honourable Member for Kitui South, Honourable Rachel Nyamai. Members, remember I'm picking those who have pressed the intervention button. That indicates that you're interested in this particular debate.
Thank you.
Come to the clerk's desk.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I would like from the onset to say that I support this bill, which has been proposed by the Honorable Joshua Kimilu. Honorable Speaker, this bill concerns the social workers, professionals, and it intends to ensure that the profession is more organized, that people get registered in order to provide the best services possible as envisaged in this bill that the member has worked very hard on. Madam Speaker, I listened to the Honorable Kimilu as he moved this bill and as he tried to even tell the House the kind of people that were engaged and what he would like to achieve from it. And I realized that it's a very important bill. Madam Speaker, it is important to notice that even in construction, in IT, in medicine, and in all other professionals that are seen to be very, very important for our country and that are supposed to bring development in the country, as much as we value them, it is important to notice that they cannot succeed without the soft part. And the soft part, Honorable Speaker, is also includes social work. Honorable Speaker, this bill intends to regulate the profession. Madam Speaker, there is a possibility of anybody who assists within a community to feel that they are social workers without training, without any form of organization. They just say that I am a social worker. So this bill is going to ensure that this profession is taken seriously, it is regulated, that the professionals are registered, and that quality of service that they offer is going to be better than it is today. We noticed as the Honorable Kimilu was trying to give different categories of social workers, he talked about those who are in the health sector. The health workers, the social workers who are within the health sector will be different from a social worker who is within the department of, for example, construction, because this could be people who are dealing with safety and also other matters. So I believe that by coming up with this bill, the social workers are going to be properly classified within specific other professions that they support, and then they'll be able to get the requisite training so that they can offer the best service as it were. Honorable Speaker, the bill also proposes possibilities of social workers participating meaningfully in development. Once the social workers have been categorized, once the funding for them has been properly identified, then it will be possible to link them with the departments where they'll be most useful. And I believe that this will not open opportunities locally in Kenya, but also internationally. Social workers are needed. So then, if someone would like, for example, to get an opportunity to work abroad, they'll not just say they are social workers. They'll say they are social workers. They'll tell where they have been classified. They'll produce evidence of registration. They'll produce evidence of training. And this means that the country will be more organized in even providing the services outside the country. Honorable Speaker, this bill also gives the social workers a voice. At this moment, you realize that if social workers are working within, for example, engineering sector, they may be seen to be inferior to the engineers, such that the bosses within that institution will feel that they deal with engineers, they budget for engineers, and then they do not budget for the soft part aspect, which is the social workers. So this bill is going to ensure that when they are registered, they are hired in an organized way, then their voice will be heard and their numbers will be bigger. They'll not just be 2 or 3 in an institution which has thousands and thousands of people. So then it gives them value, it gives them a voice, and it also gives them a possibility of a proper remuneration. Honorable Speaker, I also realize that this bill is targeting ensuring that the social workers' unethical practices are dealt with very well. Madam Speaker, one of the reasons I support this bill is that there are so many unethical practices within the social work sector. And I would like to give an example of social workers working, for example, in mental institutions, where there are so many accusations and allegations of victims who may have been mishandled by the social workers. So this bill will ensure that in case of any unethical practices, they can be dealt with as per the law. Honorable Speaker, that the world is changing today, and what used to be called social work 10 years ago, what is social work today, and what will be social work in another 5 years will change because of the current world situation, where people experience different things so fast because of the computer, because of artificial intelligence, because of too much information being bumped in communities. This bill will ensure that matters related to that are handled. Madam Speaker, I'm also very much encouraged to notice that this bill does not request for funding from the Exchequer. And I think this is one aspect that the House has taken seriously, that professional bodies cannot just go organize themselves, hook themselves up with a ministry or with an institution, and then start looking for a budget line within the budget for the country. And this bill by the Honorable Kimilu proposes that the professionals are going to finance themselves by making sure that they are organized, they'll seek for donations, they'll write proposals to ensure that they are not also relying on the same kitty where Kenyans are struggling. For example, at the moment, we are struggling to get money for TB drugs, for HIV drugs, and other health challenges that we are facing. So, Honorable Speaker, this is a very important bill that the Honorable Kimilu has come up with. I would like to congratulate him and support him and encourage also other members to support. There are social workers of different sectors, those working in hospitals, those who are called themselves the experts, those who are dealing with in prison for too long, and they get out this important bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me a chance.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for West Mugirango, Honourable Stephen Mugaka.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this chance. And I want to, at the onset, express my support for this bill and to congratulate the sponsor, Honorable Kimilu, for a well-thought and well-crafted bill. As a lawyer, I do know that unless a profession is defined and its registration provided for in law, and a legal framework for the operation of that profession is provided for by law, then the practitioners do so in vanity. I want to thank the sponsor of this bill for making that legal framework happen, and I will be urging all my colleagues to support this bill. Because social workers have been working voluntarily. In fact, many of them have been carrying that tag social worker
without any clear definition of what is social work. I know in hospitals, I know in prisons, I know in society, and even in our faith-based organizations, we have volunteers who do a lot of social work. This bill now provides a framework for mainstreaming all social workers so that they are recognized in law and their certification is provided for and protected. And this will also, Madam Speaker, create a mechanism for us distilling the professionals from quacks, because many a time people masquerade as professionals, whether medics, whether lawyers, whether social workers, and bring that profession to disrepute. This bill will now sift the professionals and separate them from the pretenders so that that profession is recognized. And I want to thank this member for bringing this bill during the 13th Parliament. And it is during a government whose one of the manifesto was that every hustle matters. Indeed, social workers are hustlers in their own right. And until now, there was no legal framework for their hustle being recognized. And therefore, this bill is properly aligned with the manifesto of the government of the day, and it will therefore be falling on very fertile land. And it is my prayer that this bill gets assented to as an act of parliament so that the social worker hustlers can also find protection in law. Madam Speaker, I support.
Thank you. And honorable members, let's try and keep our submissions brief, because I can see there's quite a bit of interest on this bill. I now, the honorable member for Alego Usonga. Honorable Atandi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. And from the outset, let me say that I support the bill as presented. And to say that the role of social workers is something that we all understand, and the role they play in working with our communities in the areas of poverty, alleviation, working with people to sort out community issues. Madam Speaker, the bill is very good, and I also support professional bodies to self-regulate, because this is really the way these bodies can be able to effectively serve their members. But Madam Speaker, I just wanted to say that I've gone through the bill, and the bill will need a few areas to be rectified. And some of the proposals that I want to say is that I have seen that there is heavy government involvement in the affairs of this institute when it is set up. I tend to think that one of the things that should be avoided is to involve government. I say that one of the professional bodies that I like is the LSK. Law Society of Kenya is one self-regulating professional body where you will never find government agencies being part and parcel of the council. I have seen here in the committee report where there are proposals for cabinet secretary to be a member of the council, Mara principal secretary, Commission of Higher Education. I think these are government entities that should never be part of a professional body. In any case, if there's going to be government participation, then the government participation should only come at the end when we are talking about disciplinary actions, where we need people to be disciplined, members to be disciplined, where they go against some of their objectives. But otherwise, I think the bill is good. It is going to professionalize social work and make social work respected and recognized, and also to make members be able to be certified and be able to serve in other parts of the country. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, I support.
Honorable members, I can see I have like 4 people left. The honorable member for Embakasi, Honorable Babu Owino.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I would like to contribute to this bill, and before that, I want to take this opportunity to welcome members of Rockside Academy. The students are here today, and I want to advise the students, together with other students who are here, that it is only education that shall help you in life. That through education, you will help that parent of yours who is struggling to look for fees. It is said that the only thing that can replace a book is the next book. Therefore, make sure you work hard and you shall reach the city of victory through education. Thank you. And Madam Speaker, as I contribute to this bill on professionalizing social workers, I want to state, Madam Speaker, that social workers are ignored and have been ignored for a very long time. That everybody in this country has a body that is protecting them. Every profession has a body that is protecting them. If you look at lawyers, they have the Law Society of Kenya. If you look at doctors and medics, they have a body, KMPDU, that is protecting their interest. If you look at teachers, they also have a body that is protecting their interest. Madam Speaker, it is therefore in the interest of the social workers to have a body that shall protect their interest. And social workers must be treated with utmost respect. And in addition to that, we also fight for the salary increment, if possible, of these social workers, because these are people who are doing a lot in the community, in our society, to better our community, yet they are paid very little amount of money, and they have challenges to meet, challenges of fees, challenges of other bills, and this, Madam Speaker, I really support the bill by Mheshimiwa Kimilu. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you. Next chance will go to Honorable Haika Mizigi, member for Taita Taveta.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you for also giving me this chance to contribute to this bill. And on the onset, I want to congratulate Honorable Kimilu, member for Kaiti, for recognizing this group or this team of professionals called the social health workers, who most of the time are not recognized and they are ignored. But I'm glad that he has recognized and brought this bill in the floor of the House so that we can discuss it. Honorable Speaker, social worker, they really help people to overcome many challenges. And given the kind of situation in the world right now, there are so many challenges. There are challenges that are brought up by a different situation, different occurrence here and there. Be it climate change, be it economy, and also diseases, illnesses. And therefore, these social workers are very important. And whenever they come through, they come, they protect, and they advise, and they advocate for change, Madam Speaker. And therefore, I think it is high time that they are recognized and they are supported in what they are doing so that they can even better the services, because their services are really needed. So I want to support Honorable Kimilu for this bill, and it is a good one indeed. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Member for Kitutu Masaba, Honorable Clive Gizairo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, first of all, let me take this opportunity to congratulate Honorable Joshua Kimilu for this timely bill. The institution of social work. Honorable Speaker, we are going to so many problems at once. Honorable Speaker, when I became a member of parliament, I didn't know that almost all Kenyans are vulnerable. Everyone is a vulnerable when it comes to government services. Honorable Speaker, the challenges we had with the new university funding model is because all applicants were vulnerables. Honorable Speaker, the new medical, the SHA, is having challenges because everybody is a vulnerable. Once we professionalize this body, Honorable Speaker, and give it the teeth that it deserves, take it to the grassroots, where everyone knows that this is a professional body, and those serving as social workers appreciate that they are appreciated, we will even be able to have a database of all vulnerable cases from the localities. And this will make every work that's run by government simple and accessible. Honorable Speaker, even when issuing bursaries, these members of parliament can attest. You will never find a case that does not say extremely needy. But if we have a database, we are able to categorize. And this will be protected because this bill also proposes penalties for misconduct. Misconduct by any social worker who does things that are, may be deemed unethical, or by categorizing members to be in a group that they are not. Honorable Speaker, suicide cases are on the increase, mostly by our young generation, the young people. The cases of femicide, they are not identified at the right time because social work has been seen as a useless profession, and therefore nobody takes it serious. But while professionalizing this, you will end up empowering these people. They are able to identify these cases, brought to the fore, and solved in time to mitigate some of these cases like suicides, murders, and other social ills. So, Madam Speaker, this is a bill that we all ought to support. And once it goes through and assented into law, come up with structures on how it is to be established up to the smallest administrative unit. May it be the ward. Let's have an office there, and let's have a database formulated where any person who wants to help the vulnerables can easily access, be it on medical, be it on education, security. You can go there and access the data and be able to make informed decision to this community. Honorable Speaker, I would like to thank Honorable Joshua, and we support this bill. Let us all rally behind it and ensure that it's effected. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Member for Gishugu. Honorable Gishimo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to support this bill, sponsored by Honorable Joshua Kimilu, member for Kaiti. And Honorable Speaker, I want to associate myself with the sentiments of the members who have contributed before, that this is a very, very important bill because it will professionalize the social workers' space in this country, which has been left hanging and a bit disorganized for quite a while. And Honorable Speaker, it's an opportunity through this bill to weed out quacks in the profession of social workers. And these are people who are trained, who have, some have diplomas, some have even degrees, some even have masters and even doctorate in this sector. So it needs to be sanitized and professionalized. Honorable Speaker, just like other professions, this is a profession that will not be relying on the exchequer for purposes of funding. It will be self-regulating. The profession will be through regulations which have already been provided. There's an avenue for provisions, for regulations. I believe regulations will be made on how this will be achieved so that the sector and the profession can be able to be self-regulating. And on that aspect of the regulation, I believe we need to, I'll be proposing an amendment in consultation with the sponsor so that we can leave the issue of the regulations to be made by the CS in consultation with the council, so that the CS who has already been defined in the Act can also have some say, but in consultation with the council, which is the main body to regulate this profession. I will also be seeking, and in consultation with the sponsor, because we are talking about social workers, we also need to define a social worker. What has been defined is only social work, but the social worker has not been defined. It will be very critical that we also define. Also, Honorable Speaker, under clause 5, I will also be seeking to amend in consultation with the sponsor that we delete M, whereby we are leaving room for the institute to do anything else which has not been provided, because this is the law that we are creating. We need to do or to make law with finality, so that if there is anything that is required to be made under this bill, under the law, the Act, after it transits from the bill to the law, then that can only be achieved through a regulation. But the Act itself cannot provide a provision, cannot give a provision for leaving room for someone to do whatever, or the institute to do whatever they want to do, which has not been provided. Finally, Honorable Speaker, under clause 27, as it has been the norm in many professions where a certificate has been cancelled or suspended, I think it will not be required. It is not necessary for someone to submit that report to the regulating body, to the council. Why don't we just maintain a database which gives the status of every other member of that institute, so that by a click of a button, by any citizen, one can know whether someone is qualified, whether someone has a valid certificate or a suspended certificate or a cancelled certificate, to avoid a situation whereby you are penalizing someone 500,000 for not just submitting a cancelled or a suspended certificate to the council. Like in the profession that I belong, you just need to check the website of the Law Society of Kenya and find whether that person is qualified to practice law, and that way it will be very easy and you will not subject people to unnecessary penalties. Honorable Speaker, with those few remarks, I support this bill. Of course, I will be proposing some amendments at the Committee of the Whole. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Chanda.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, other than the issue of certification, properly categorizing this profession, and making sure that they self-regulate, there are many other things that I think the bill ought to have recognized. And even if the bill didn't, it's important that the nation recognizes them. A more critical role that social workers do, a lot more things that happen, whether they are different professions, the technical bit of things, the hard stuff that happens, whether they are roads, whether they are water, whether they are dams, whatever they are, many of these things can only work when social workers are in place. All the technical projects that we do interface with human beings. And for them to properly succeed, that interface must be properly understood, must be recognized, and must be constantly checked, if at all things are to work. We've had very many projects that have been done, whether by the government, but they're done with very little background in terms of the community needs. They are done without the issues of the social aspects of these projects. They are done when communities don't understand them very well. And the best way that some of these things can be done is through social workers. There are authorities, for example, the National Irrigation Authority, that has a complete office. And I think they've been doing very well in terms of checking out before they implement a project that involves the communities. Rather than what we popularly nowadays call public participation, the best way that we can sustain the public participation is through social workers. These are the officers, these are the persons that can give a constant touch. They have a constant touch with the public and with the communities. And when we don't recognize them, when many technical departments don't have them in place, that's exactly where we go wrong. Whether they are roads, like I've mentioned, that's where we go wrong. Whether they are bridges, that's where we go wrong. Because we do certain things, sometimes in the name of public participation. And I want to say that the kind of public participation, given that we have also not come up with a proper legislation in terms of how public participation is supposed to be done. Public participations are done in an instantaneous way such that people just discuss, they are called in, it's a specific day, and that's the end of it. Nobody takes them through the intricacies of some of what the projects have. And this is exactly where social workers become important and very critical. They can be the constant face of technical work across communities by constantly checking in terms of the feelings of the communities, because this technical, many of these things that we are dealing with are basically interfacing with human beings. A good example of why social work is critical, an example is where there's a Kenyan who one time had a small baby and went to Germany. A lady went to Germany, and when she went there, she was details, data, and all that were taken. Little did she know that there is a system in place in this country. So when the baby got to 6 years, she was surprised, was really shocked that a social worker came to her house, came to where she was staying, and knocked, and the first question was where was the child? Is the child in school or not? And I think these are some of the areas which can help us in a much more better way than how we casually look at things. The issue of data. You see, the social workers, if we properly place them with now like the social health workers, this could be a good amount of data that is supposed to help governments, whether they are local, in the name of counties, or national, for purposes of identifying properly the needs of the people and how these needs are supposed to be addressed. So the whole idea of social workers having their place is very critical, is very, very, very necessary. And I want to really, at this time, really call on many of those departments, many of those agencies that are appearing to be technical. They are dealing with communities, they are dealing with people. And the best interface that they can ever have is to have the social workers in place in their departments all over, such that there is a connection between what they do and what communities needs. That's what I want to, and that's exactly why I want to support the bill, and I want to believe that there are aspects of it that needs to be improved, particularly that element of interfacing the technical areas that we do in the country with the communities and with the people. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable members, as had been guided earlier, for those coming in, if you intend to speak on this, you'll put the intervention and not the regular button. Honorable member for Makueni, you've had a problem with your card.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support this very important bill. And I start by congratulating the Honorable Joshua Kimilu for bringing on board this very important bill, because social worker is one of the oldest profession, and it's unfortunate that they have taken so long to have the profession having a legal framework. Honorable Speaker, we realize that personally I'm a social worker. So when I talk about social worker, I talk about it with a lot of affection and commitment. And I personally wish to thank Honorable Kimilu for ensuring that this profession is regulated, recognized, and protected. And I wish to say that personally I've been a social safeguard specialist for over 23 years. And we have been working within a framework where this protection was lacking. And it's important to realize that, as many of us have actually said, social work is the glue that touches other profession. And when we have other profession that actually ignore the issue of social work, you realize the results and the outcome sometimes are very limiting. So I think I have operated in scenarios because of our emphasis on technical, where the engineers, the doctors have actually been seen as very important people. While I acknowledge they are very important, I think this does not negate the role of a social worker, and that's why I'm congratulating the Honorable Kimilu for doing this, because in most scenarios with this emphasis of technical work, technical profession, people have taken work very mechanical, and they think we can change this world by just doing things. Nevertheless, as one of the colleagues have actually said, to bring about transformational development, you cannot do it unless you actually work with a social worker. Because even the public participation we do, even here in Parliament, personally I've observed several of them, but you realize the quality of participation is very low. It becomes mechanical because people go with their technical skills and they just approach it in a formal profession where there is no analysis and change. So I believe if this profession is actually recognized and standardized, it will enable each and every sector learn a lot from this particular profession. This is also because if you are a doctor and you don't have social skills, and you don't even hire the skills of the other people, you can actually be treating people diseases that they do not have. Because sometimes what people say is not actually what they suffer from. You need a social expert to analyze some of these issues so that you get to the root cause of the problem. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The issue of also inclusion. We are now living in a society that has a lot of cadres and has a lot of division. We have division between men and women. We have division between old and the young. We have division between the elderly, the sick, and the healthy. It is the role of the social worker to bring about, to narrow this division so that communities can move and actually achieve their objectives. So, Honorable Speaker, I think this is a very valuable bill, and I'm happy it has seen the floor of the House through Honorable Kimilu, and I am sure it will actually change a lot of things. Personally, as I operated as a social safeguard specialist, one of the challenges we faced was the issue of inclusion, especially issues of disability, gender, and elderly people. And you realize in most projects that are actually done, even for this country, they can only benefit sometimes a very few segments, and you realize majority of the people are excluded and do not benefit. But if we recognize this profession, we'll actually ensure that this profession is integrated in the other profession so that we have transformational development as we facilitate change. Honorable Speaker, the other very important point is the issue of remuneration. Because of this profession being taken casually, it has resorted to some employers giving professional sociologists tokenism kind of payment as opposed to professional payment. So I think if we pass this particular bill, we have a situation whereby those who are professional sociologists, they can actually be recognized like other professionals, and this would actually add a lot of value in our communities. So I think with those few and many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, CNN.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to add my voice on this bill. And from onset, I would like to congratulate my brother, Mheshimiwa Kimilu, for coming up with such an important bill. It may seem simple, but it is very important for our country. Mr. Speaker, we need to note that in developing world and even developed world, we live in a world full of discrimination, full of conflicts, full of disasters, full of inequality. Hence, a need for social work to provide technical, financial, and moral support, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, social workers plays a very key role in terms of providing services that governments actually cannot meet because of financial obligation, and needs for them to get recognized. By coming up with this professional body, actually it's going to provide what we call financial, moral, and technical support to workers, Madam Speaker. This body is also going to stop the issues of exploitation of social workers, because that body will now be given a voice to protect the basic needs and also the basic rights of the social workers, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, I feel it is very important as we do this, we make sure this bill, we don't only present it in the floor of the House, but we implement it practically to come up with this professional body, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this thing, we have to note that for you to be a social worker, you have to possess a certain traits. And some of these traits, you don't go to school, you don't go to anywhere to inculcate them into your brains, but you need counselors and you need professionals to assist you in attaining these traits needed to adult some of these people who are vulnerable, Madam Speaker. So in so doing so, we are going to come up with a proper data of all the people who need social support, and this body will play a key role in implementing those few things, Madam Speaker. For us to help the people who have been discriminated, who are facing conflicts in this world, who are facing poverty and even inequality in terms of gender, Madam Speaker, we need social workers. And with those few remarks, I fully support this. Thank you.
Member for Kericho, Honorable Kemei.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to this very, very important bill. And I want to thank the Honorable Joshua for bringing it forth. Honorable Speaker, I come from Kericho County, where we have so many of these tea estates, and the workers in the tea estates need protection. And this protection has not been so much available, but now with this profession registration, as when this bill goes through, Honorable Speaker, these workers will be registered so that they benefit as a group. Honorable Speaker, I want to appreciate the fact that their rights will not be violated anymore, and knowing that discipline is very important. And for this case, Honorable Speaker, when we talk of discipline, disciplining of the members, looking at this, Honorable Speaker, I want to specifically appreciate where, and it is noted in this bill that those who engage in negative practices such as nepotism, tribalism, racism, and other acts of discrimination in the discharge of professional functions, Honorable Speaker, will face disciplinary action. And this one is so much important, knowing that in the places like the tea estates, Honorable Speaker, there is so much discrimination, and especially nepotism here also comes forth, and not to forget, Honorable Speaker, where we talk of, and maybe the leaders here use their position to obtain favors of sexual kind. Honorable Speaker, I remember I came here with a statement seeking and from the Committee of Labor why we have so many of those cases in the tea estates of sexual discrimination and the sexual issues. Here, Honorable Speaker, with this professional body, I am sure this issue will be sorted. So I would really want to support this bill, Honorable Speaker. I only have an issue of maybe the definition of who is a social worker. Here we only have the definition of social work, but who is this social worker, Honorable Speaker? And I also want to add my voice saying that it will also stop cases of exploitation. That is so much rampant, knowing that, Honorable Speaker, in this country, we have so many of these workers, but their welfare is not attended to. So, Honorable Speaker, I do support, not forgetting also the health sector. where we have so many of these social workers, but even their environment is not looked into. Whatever they do is not even appreciated. So with this bill, Honorable Speaker, when they come together under this professional body, I am sure they will work hard, their spirits will be lifted, and even whatever issues they have will be sorted. Honorable Speaker, I do support the bill. Thank you.
Very well. Member for Kitui West, Honorable Nyenze.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also hear my feels on this bill. On the onset, let me say that I congratulate Mheshimiwa Joshua Kimilu for coming up with this bill, the Institute of Social Work Professionals Bill number 17 of 2023. Madam Speaker, I note that social workers, especially in Kenya, work in a variety of roles. Some of the roles including raising awareness in different areas, assessing needs of especially the lowly, and providing support to such. So this is a very important bill which will ensure that the social workers' profession is regulated, is supervised, and that there are controls and balances concerning this profession. I also note that the social worker handles our destitute children and gives hope to our youth. They also do a lot in navigating the challenges of the society and empowers the very needy, also women in our society. So they deal especially with the needy people. And it's very good, it's very important to regulate their work and also have refresher courses which are also regulated by the institute. And this will ensure that no one is exploited, because these are lowly people and they are actually exposed to exploitation. Because other people can also get into the profession and also pretend that they are also qualified, and in the process they can mistreat the people they are supposed to actually assist. So this bill would ensure that there are regulations, would ensure that there are follow-ups, would ensure there is proper training for whoever claims to be a social worker, so that our people are taken care of. And this regulating would also ensure that there are remunerations for the social workers, and that when they go to interact with the people, then they have enough pay. They will not be tempted to also require to be paid by the same people they are assisting. Actually, Madam Speaker, especially in the healthy sector, social workers in developed countries are highly paid and they are highly recognized. And this profession is recognized as a very crucial profession, and therefore they are well remunerated, they are well regulated, and if we end such in our country, this act would actually help us to also improve, especially on the lowly, so that we can reduce the number of people who have issues. The social workers also deal with such issues like disability. They deal with issues like encouraging the sick, especially those ones who have HIV. I've talked about the health sector, to also take their ARVs, because there are some who would not even see the need of doing so. And if they continue without the ARVs, then their lives are shortened. So these social workers, their profession should be recognized and also encouraged by a body which will have checks and balances, which will supervise whatever they do, and which will regulate and ensure that this is a proper institute. So with that, Madam Speaker, I congratulate Joshua Kimilu and say that this one came at the right time. Thank you.
Thank you. Before the next speaker, allow me to recognize in our public gallery students from a very interesting name here, Kamuongo Secondary School in Mwingi North from Kitui County. And I will indulge Honorable Makali Mulu to say something to the students.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it is Kamuongo. That's the way we pronounce it down there. And on behalf of my colleague, Honorable Nzengu, because they come from Honorable Nzengu's constituency, I want to take this opportunity to welcome the teachers and the students to the National Assembly. It's good that they have come to see what we do in this assembly. My prayer that in future, one of them will be seated where we are seated, serving the nation. So best wishes, Kamuongo Secondary School, and most welcome. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, and on behalf of the Speaker and the whole House, we welcome you to observe the proceedings of the House. The last one that seemed to be interested in this bill will be Member for Embakasi West, Honorable Mark Mwenje.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. From the outset, let me congratulate the Honorable Kimilu for bringing this very important bill. Honorable Speaker, the issue of social workers, especially in developed countries, they have a very well-established system. If you look, whether it is in Europe, whether you look the countries such as the UK, Germany, if you go to the US, social workers are the backbone of especially the vulnerable in those societies. Here in Kenya, Honorable Speaker, I want to acknowledge that the only place you find social workers are in hospitals. We have them in Mama Lucy Hospital, we have them in Kenyatta Hospital, we have them in KU referral, and when they come in is usually at the point of people have a hospital bill, they are trying to pay that bill, they can't raise those funds, and these matters are referred to these social workers. Now, unfortunately, we don't have a framework of how they can assist these vulnerable communities. In fact, without these social workers in some of these hospitals, you can have bodies, especially for those who are deceased, lying there for months. In fact, in the private hospitals here in Nairobi, without these social workers, because they don't have this system of social workers, we have hospitals that hold on to bodies for 6 months. I have a case in my constituency. I don't want to mention the hospital here, but we've been unable, there's a bill of 500,000. This family is living in a room where they pay 2,500 per month, and you expect them to raise this money? It's not going to happen. So this is such an important bill because it will spread now not just to the hospitals, the hospital bills where they've been working so far, but to be able, even the issue of social protection. We have the Inua Jamii, these cash transfers. It should be social workers going around establishing these vulnerable members of our community, ensuring they get this support. When it comes to issues of bursaries, you know, when we do bursaries, we allow everyone to apply for bursaries. But we all know there are people who deserve perhaps a bigger share of what we give as bursaries. Here in Nairobi, we're only able to give 5,000, maybe 10,000 to orphans. But we know there are people who need a bit more. These social workers will be the ones who will help us. And more importantly, they'll be able to upgrade the CHPs who have been doing such a commendable job. But we need these CHPs to now become trained social workers who are able to work within our communities. This is, it's time we push out, even as much as the NGOs do a lot of work. But the government must now come in and take this space. We allow this space to be taken over by various NGOs who've been doing a commendable job, but unfortunately, they will never be able to do what the government is elected or is supposed to do for the vulnerable communities. So I believe this is such a timely bill that has been brought forward. I believe there are a few amendments, which I hope the Kimilu will allow us to help strengthen this bill as we activate it, because I believe this will be a game changer for the vulnerable members of our community. With that, I support. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Members. As had been guided earlier, we had said that if you intend to speak on this, you'll use the intervention button. So I have seen some more who have walked in. Honorable Makali Mulu.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you for this opportunity. At the same time, take this opportunity to thank Honorable Kimilu for this important bill, the bill on social workers. Honorable Speaker, during our time in the university, we used to do sociology as a subject, and then there are people doing social work, which means you get more specialized on issues to do with social matters. So this is a group of people who have been trained for many years, over many years in the universities. And the proposal by Honorable Kimilu is to have a regulatory framework for them so that they can have the whole discipline of social work being regulated. So the reason why I appreciate him is because over the years, we have never had this kind of bill coming to this house or been passed by the House. Honorable Speaker, this House, we have many acts of parliament which regulate different disciplines. We have laws for the lawyers, we have some for the doctors, and when it comes to the medical field, we have actually very many because we have some for nurses. I remember the other day we passed some even for the community health workers. So, Honorable Speaker, this is a step towards the right direction. And why this bill becomes very important is because now we'll be able to know who is a qualified social worker in this country. And social workers do play a very key role in this country in matters relating to our people. For example, Honorable Speaker, you now know very well that with the SHA and the SHIP, there has been this controversial kind of issue dealing with assessment, where people are going to their mobile phones, and once you fill your details, it tells you how much you should be able to pay. Some are complaining that they are being given very high figures, others are getting very low figures. And what has been happening is that there has been an attempt by many people to see how they can manipulate the system to get the low amounts. But naturally, Honorable Speaker, this should be the work of a social worker. Somebody who can go down there and then assess based on the characteristics of a household and determine where that also should be. At the same time, following up on what Honorable Mwenja has said, we are using social workers in hospitals to determine the capacity of families to pay. And I can for sure say, Honorable Speaker, many times when my people end up in Kenyatta, we've seen these social workers becoming handy, that they are able to talk to the families, and based on that, they will recommend a waiver of the bills. And this has been of much assistance to the families. So, Honorable Speaker, I think really this bill becomes very important. The only caution I want to do, and this is now the new way of doing it, in the earlier days, some of these associations have been drawing money from the consolidated fund, where they have been funded. I think now the way forward is, since it's a membership kind of club, we'll be requesting Honorable Kimilu to make sure that they will not be expected to draw any money from the exchequer, but through their own contributions, they can sustain whatever association they will be forming. But all said and done, Honorable Speaker, this is a very important bill, and we must thank Honorable Kimilu for coming up with this initiative. And I look forward to where it can be fast-tracked so that we get this becoming an act of parliament. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Thank you. Member for Central Imenti, Honorable Kirima. Honorable Rahim, break the Kamukunji.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First and foremost, Madam Speaker, I support the bill on the Institute of Social Work Professionals Bill. It's one of 2023, of which I see that the sponsor of the bill, my colleague, Honorable Kimilu, has done a good thing. Because, Madam Speaker, if I go through the bill as I have seen it, other than the lack of description of who is a social worker, how other things look okay, because it enriches our system of the law to cater for the social work through the Institute of Social Work, whereby if we have an Institute of Social Workers, they are going to be professionally trained. At the moment they get that professional and then get the certificate of which they can practice what they have been trained, they can even earn some remuneration out of the work they are going to be doing. Social workers, Honorable Speaker, are people who really do work in a form of a voluntary form of system, even though they are engaged by the government to do the same. They work at very hard conditions because if in some circumstances, let's say a court of law aside a social worker to go to a place to assess the person who has been charged and is waiting to be adjudged by the court. The social worker is going to go in some places which are very remote, unfavorable places of working conditions, and at the end of the day, the social worker sometimes is exposed, even security-wise. It's a risky situation for if one is sent maybe by an institution like a court to go and assess a person who has been committing some crime. And these crimes sometimes are violent crimes. And this social work has not been provided with people who are armed to protect the social worker. The court can, this parliament can imagine the kind of a risk which the social worker is undergoing through, so that at least he can meet the obligations of the institution which is sending him. So, Madam Speaker, we have different types of social workers, because like the ones who at this material time and are engaged by the county and the national government to go out our homes assessing those people who have minor illnesses, those who are carrying out assessment, or those who are carrying out to establish those with diabetes, blood pressure, and so on. They are doing it as social workers. Now, for people who are social workers, it's a broad spectrum of workers. Even the people whom we call area managers or sub-areas, they are doing social work. They are social workers. They are social workers because nobody is paying them. They are doing it for the social society, just for purposes of the society. So the description here of why I am saying that we need to describe who is a social worker is so that we can be able to encompass, to include all those who are doing social work for free. For now, nobody is paying them, but they are doing it for social services to the society. And as for that, I support this bill, Madam Speaker, and I say echo to the mover of the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Member for Narok North, Honorable Pareyo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support this bill. And before I go on, I would like to congratulate Joshua Mill for bringing this bill. This is a very important bill because it talks of the people who are at the grassroots level, who are with the people.
For the record, it's Joshua Kimilu, not Mwilu.
Kimilu. Thank you. And I'm happy to see this bill because I work with the communities at the grassroots level. And once we have promoted these social workers, these are the people who are going to be advisors to our people. And our people will have people to run to. Because there are communities that are still practicing female genital mutilation. There are communities that are still forcing their daughters to be married. And sometimes these people have nobody to run to. So these should be professionals, well-trained people who can guide and advise and who can also counsel these people when they have problems. So for that reason, I support the bill and feel that the welfare of these people should be looked into so that they can also have their salaries, they can also be recognized amongst the community because they will be working with our communities. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me that opportunity.
Thank you. Member for Kasipul, Honorable Bara.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. But first, I think, I don't know what we are going to do to make the name of my constituency
Kabondo Kasipul.
to stick in the minds of, it is actually Kabondo Kasipul.
Yes.
Kasipul is a different constituency. Thank you very much, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to also talk on this bill. On onset, let me also congratulate our colleague, Honorable Kimilu, for coming up with the bill. Madam Chair, we all know the kind of work that the social worker does in a community. The challenges that face the people in the community, the first person, the contact person is the social worker. Madam Speaker, I want to say at this point that the impact of these people within the community cannot be understated. Therefore, Honorable Kimilu, I think this was a good idea that should have been there like yesterday. What you're proposing here of establishing a regulatory framework for social work professionals is welcome. Madam Speaker, the key issues that he has picked are very, very important. Formalizing the work of the professionals or coming up with a structured way in which they can be managed is something that should have been done, and I'm happy that he has come up with it. One, on the highlights that I want to pick up is the establishment of the Institute of Social Work Profession. Who are they? What are their qualifications? If you want to recruit or employ somebody, what do you need to look at? At what level are they supposed to enter? So this is what is taken care of in the establishment of the Institute of Social Work Profession. Second one is the registration and licensing of social worker. It is critical that they are licensed so that we know who they are and whatever area that they are in, be it medical, be it agriculture, be it whatever it is, that we are able to trace them through the registration. And only certified, of course we also know that there are many quacks around. So only the certified social workers are allowed to practice. This aims to ensure that only qualified individuals provide social work services, thereby improving the quality of social welfare support to our people. The third one, the most interesting thing here, is on the Code of Ethics and Disciplinary Measures. The bill outlines the Code of Ethics to social work professionals with a clear guideline. Madam Speaker, I have also seen that they have taken care of the professional development and training standards. So this bill continues professional development for social workers. The same way in which the lawyers have their continuing development studies, also lawyers, accountants, and all these people, because learning is a continuous process. And therefore, people will be expected to continuing improving and adapting new ways of doing things, and this is what this professional development and training standards is going to do. The other one is the profession of social work research and advocacy. Madam Speaker, the Institute will be responsible for promoting research and advocacy in social work. This is very, very important, focusing on evidence-based practices and policies that address the social issues that affect our people. By supporting research and advocacy, the bill aims to strengthen the role of social work in national development and social policy formulation. Madam Speaker, as I have said earlier, that the work of the social worker has not been properly respected within our communities. Establishment of standards for social work education. The bill sets to set minimum standards for educational institutions offering social work programs to ensure consistent, high-quality training across the field. These standards are intended to create a uniform foundation of knowledge and skills for the social work graduates entering the profession. Therefore, Madam Speaker, once again, I support and I thank the honorable member for coming up with a bill, and I request that it be considered for adoption finally, so that it is an act in place. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Member for Igembe Central, Honorable Karido.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to address on this very important bill, the Act of Parliament providing for the establishment of the Institute of Social Work and Social Work Professional Board. Madam Speaker, may I also congratulate the member who introduced this bill. It's very important. Madam Speaker, social workers play a very crucial and important role in the society, especially in enlightening the communities, assisting the vulnerables, and being an integral part of the society. Madam Speaker, it's very important that we have a board that is regulating this institution, which is very crucial. We need, the mover of the bill, as indicated, we need to regulate it to have people who know what they are doing and who are professional in that field. For example, we have the social workers who move around our villages testing on our status, health status. Those who check on our pressure, the sugar levels, and other ailments. It's good that we have people who are tested and proven so that they give the correct information to the ministry and the government on the status of the society in health matters. Madam Speaker, we have some social workers who play a very crucial role even in our hospitals. We have social workers who identify. There are some vulnerable families who lose even their loved ones. They are detained in mortuaries, and those social workers go extra mile to establish the financial capacity of the bereaved so that they can be assistant in matters to waive their bills. So these people are very important, and it's good that they get regulated. We have a board that is establishing them and running them so that we have services, the right services given to the right people. Madam Speaker, I support.
Very well. Ruko, member from Mbeere North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I first want to congratulate the member for coming up with this very important bill. As you look into this bill, Madam Speaker, you realize it is aimed at stimulating the social work sector, which is a key sector and which will enhance, especially the young people, the youth, into entering into the profession. Just like other professions, like lawyers, institute or bankers, they all have bodies which regulate them, which help the growth of the sector, and this bill will aim or will help in streamlining the social work sector. Madam Speaker, also the bill is very important in ensuring that promote professional development and growth of the members who would have to maintain the quality and the quality of professional standard and practice in this sector. Madam Speaker, it's also important to note that it will create policies, the bill will help in creating policies which will advance the development, and in that case will help in scrutinizing the government policies so that they can support the social workers. Madam Speaker, you realize we have witnessed in this country unrest in our institution, in secondary schools, universities, and other institutions. Once this bill comes to law, we will see professionals who can help in this sector as far as ensuring there are minimal unrest within our institutions, especially the education system or the education sector, so that everything can run in a well-guided manner. Therefore, this bill is key in unifying the social worker professions, strengthening the social work practice, and promoting the development of social work standard, as well as advocating for the social policies that will advance the social justice and, of course, human rights. With these remarks, Madam Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Very well. Member for North Imenti, Honorable Dawood.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on the outset, I want to support Honorable Joshua Kimilu on this bill, the Social Work Professionals Bill. Madam Speaker, I've looked at the bill and it's a good bill, the creating of an institute. I have an issue with the examination which Honorable Member has proposed in this bill. Madam Speaker, we know that a lot of social workers are there, may not have the qualifications, or they may have been doing it over time. And we need now to think about acquired expertise, like what we are saying. Many people may not have gone through college or university, but they have got the experience of the job they are doing. So, Madam Speaker, I would want to put it to the Honourable Member to think forward so that people who are professionals in their own right without any qualification to be given prior knowledge certificates so that they can be registered in this professionals bill. Madam Speaker, it says that to be a member of this body, they should have good conduct. That is good. Definitely, you have to be of good conduct to be doing social work. Madam Speaker, he has even said to pay the prescribed fees. Madam Speaker, that leaves a big leeway on what the prescribed fees would be. I would have wished if he would have said a certain amount, which will not be out of what somebody can afford, because you can make it, a fee would be so high that somebody will not be able to pay and then not be registered. Madam Speaker, it says, even goes on to say in C, that has successfully undergone a prescribed certificate, diploma, degree, or research course of instruction and has passed the appropriate exam. So that is where I would want him to change. Madam Speaker, social work professionals are very important in that they keep the cohesiveness of this country. They work where nobody else wants to work, and mostly they are unpaid. So I would wish that we would be able to put a figure to what, if you are employed or if you are doing social work, how much would you be expecting at the end of the month or at the end of the day to be getting out of it, besides the gratification that you get for doing good job. So, Madam Speaker, I think if the Honourable Member could probably think about the education aspect and the prescribed fees together with the remuneration, it would be very good. And I think if at the next stage, I will be suggesting amendments to this bill. Hopefully, I agree it is a very good bill, Mheshimiwa, and our people, the social professionals, this institute will do well. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and best of luck to the member.
Honourable members, there being no more interest on this bill, I will therefore call Honourable Joshua Kimilu to reply.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. And before I reply, I want to congratulate all the members who supported the bill. And I want to thank them because it has a lot of interest, and they give good suggestions and for the amendments, because it's very important for us to make sure the bill, as it becomes to law, it's well polished, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, of the concern of the Honourable Dahoud about the examinations, Madam Speaker, in the bill we have taken care of that, and I'll talk to him after this and make sure that he understands everything on the examination issue. Madam Speaker, I also want to say that as most of the members have contributed, it is true, Madam Speaker, the social workers are all over in this country, especially when you go to the hospitals, as some members are saying that they do a lot of work and contribute to the society through, some of them are just volunteered, and Madam Speaker, the time has come for us to put all this in order so that they can benefit, and also we can make sure that we regulate, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this bill of social work profession, Madam Speaker, is an umbrella, because it covers all sectors of social workers, Madam Speaker. And it will be a very important bill, because we won't come up with so many bills of every kind, like social workers in the hospital, they come with their bill. Those in other sectors like courts, they come with their bill. The bill covers all the social workers as a whole. And Madam Speaker, I think this bill becoming a law, it will save a lot to this country, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, I want also to thank Kenyans for their support they gave during making of this bill. I want also to thank some of the lecturers who have been working through with me on making of this bill, Madam Speaker, coming up with the bill. And they give a very good suggestion and contribution. Also, I can't fail to thank one of the lecturers who is in the gallery, Madam Phyllis, for following the proceeding of the House, Madam Speaker. And she also supported this bill when we were trying to come up with the bill. Madam Speaker, much has said, Madam Speaker, and I want to also thank my constituents, Kaiti constituency. Madam Speaker, I got so many calls. People are calling from my constituency, congratulating me, and I want to thank them for the support they are giving me. And I want to tell them I'm ready to work for them, and also I'm here to make sure that all their interests are well covered, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, I want to reply, and Madam Speaker, before I reply, Madam Speaker, pass one to standing order number 53. I request that putting of the question to be deferred, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I reply.
Thank you very much. We will put the question in the next appointed time. Honorable members, will therefore go to the next order. Move to the next order.
Order number 9, the Gold Processing Bill, National Assembly Bill number 46 of 2023, second reading.
Honorable Bernard Shinali.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Gold Processing Bill, Bill National Assembly number 46 of 2023, be read a second time. Honorable Speaker, when I introduced this bill, this gold processing bill, I did with the main purpose of being to create a legal and institutional framework for gold processing in Kenya. The import of this bill is to revise scope and application of Mining Act number 12 of 2026 so as to exclude the exploration and exploitation of gold from the ambit of the Mining Act. The objectives of the bill, Honorable Speaker, the Gold Processing Bill seeks to create a legal framework for collecting, purifying, smelting, fabricating, homogenizing, sampling, registering, monitoring, and transporting of gold or gold products. Additionally, the bill will establish an institutional framework for collecting, purifying, smelting, fabricating, homogenizing, sampling, registering, monitoring, and transportation of gold or gold products. Specifically, the bill sets out 3 things. The first one, establish regulatory mechanism of gold processing activity. The second one is to create the Gold Processing Corporation. And lastly, align Kenya's gold processing with the international standards. Honorable Speaker, Part 2 of the bill seeks to establish the Gold Processing Corporation to oversee gold processing that entails collecting, purifying, smelting, fabricating, homogenizing, sampling, registering, monitoring, and transporting of cold or cold process or cold products. The corporation will also establish, regulate Kenya's national gold standards and facilitate international accreditation of gold refineries while producing research for the development of gold mining value chain in Kenya. With the current processing results showing presence of huge deposits of gold in Kenya, we are going to see investment of large-scale miners. However, miners in Kenya largely operate without environmental and mining permits as a result of unrealistic and proper policies and regulations, as well as lack systems to enforce the current laws on this sector, coupled with lack of incentives to miners to comply with the legal requirements. The bill seeks to provide for proper infrastructure for enforcement and incentives for artisanal, small-scale miners and large-scale miners, addressing the gap between policy and reality in the sector. Honorable Speaker, establishment of an institutional framework ensures oversight, better resource management, and policy implementation while fostering collaboration across counties and national government to work together on gold processing and resource policies. Formalization speaks not only to presence of legislation, but the activation and enforcement of it by authorities and the extent of their success. Honorable Speaker, activation of such a policy depends to large extent on complex institution administrational structures at national and local levels, which this bill provides. The bill establishes a gold processing corporation for persons and companies licensed to operate gold processing plants in various parts of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, this kind of legislation framework, Kenya will operationalize its first international accredited gold refinery. This will make the country's gold visible in the international markets, as the refinery will sail to uniquely fabricate our gold. Highly processed gold can be sold in high premium markets internationally. Honorable Speaker, in comparative jurisdictions analysis, it is established that Russia, the fifth largest producer of gold globally, recently passed a bill on gold mining, free delivery, adding on its general mining laws to cover specifically the regulation of gold mining and processing. The country saw the need to encourage the individual miners to get into the business of gold mining and processing to increase revenues from gold production and increase job creation. Similarly, Honorable Speaker, Sudan has seen gold contributions to GDP increase to over 20%, up from 1% after establishment of a gold refinery to handle gold processing in the country. Currently, gold accounts for more than half of Sudan's exports, making it fourth largest producer in Africa. What's happening in Russia and Sudan is due to realization that countries with huge gold reserves provide for its management through their treasury and enjoy the critical role it plays in supporting countries' economy and stabilizing of their currency. Honorable Speaker, comprehensive regulations of the gold sector in Kenya would enable the country accumulate a gold reserve and eventually benefit from it. Gold reserves attract foreign exchange, contribute to financial stability, unify exchange rates, and contribute to the global influence as a country has. Countries with gold reserve often have regulations governing the exploration, extraction, and processing of gold. These laws, just like gold processing bill, will address environmental protection, safety standards, and permits required for mining operations. In Kenya, the Mining Act number 12 of 2016 provides for the exploration and extraction of gold, while the enactment of the Gold Refinery Bill 2023, Gold Processing Bill 2023, would now provide a comprehensive law of gold processing. Honorable Speaker, increased revenue by regulating and formalizing gold processing Kenya would generate significant revenue from taxes, licenses, and royalties, as seen in case of Sudan. The bill also proposes value addition through the gold processing locally. This will add value to our gold, thus increasing the earnings compared to exporting unprocessed minerals, in specifically gold, which is actually exporting our jobs as well. Further, Honorable Speaker, a structured framework encourages both local and international investors to engage in gold processing and related industry. This bill will create a conducive environment for financial and government institutions to support gold mining activities in Kenya through funding facilities. Honorable Speaker, the bill will help us establish a framework to cap illegal gold transportation through our porous borders to black markets. The sale of gold to black markets makes us miss out on revenue and investment opportunities to create jobs for our citizens. With this bill, the country can combat illegal gold mining, gold smuggling, and environmental degradation that can be serious threat to our national security and environment. Honorable Speaker, lack of proper structures like cooperatives to bring together Etsino and small-scale miners has resulted in failure to give royalties to gold-producing areas. This leaves gold-producing areas impoverished with little to no transformation. With the bill, we are establishing a clear mechanism to track gold and get royalties back to the gold-producing areas to spur socio-economic development while enhancing the country's revenue to run government initiatives across the country. Honorable Speaker, the gold processing plants proposed in the bill will stimulate the economy for job creation and skills development, especially for our youth. Job opportunities will be created in the gold processing plant. This framework will enhance international competitiveness, economic growth, and enhance standards, thus strengthening our gold mining industry for long-term benefits. I strongly urge this House to pass this bill so as to consolidate Kenya's position and competitiveness in gold mining and bring benefits to our communities in regions endowed with the gold. Honorable Speaker, with those remarks, I beg to move the bill and request the Honorable MP for Shinyalu, Honorable Ikana, to second. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you.
Honorable member for Shinyalu. Yes, give him the mic.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I rise to second this very important bill that has been proposed by my brother and neighbor, Honorable Shinali, on gold processing. Madam Speaker, allow me to start by restating a very well-known fact that Kenya is a very rich country in the amount of gold deposits that are spread across the country. The gold deposits in the country are spread and are not limited to just Shinyalu and Ikolomani. There are many gold deposits in Migori, Turkana, and many other parts of this country. Madam Speaker, I want to second this bill because it creates a framework through which we shall ensure that our young people, that our investors who are in this field of gold mining will generate resources and gain full value that the potential that exists in this sector can provide. Madam Speaker, one of the very key issues that is being addressed by this bill is the issue of sustainability and safety. You realize that every so often there have been incidents of many deaths that are occasioned by collapsing gold mines, not just in Shinyalu, but also across the country. Through this bill, the issue of safety has been very well addressed, and we are hopeful that if this parliament enables us to enact this legislation, we shall ensure that the safety of our young men who are involved in gold mining are safeguarded, their lives are safeguarded. Number two, Madam Speaker, you realize that even those who are engaged in this business, most of them get exploited by the bigger players. Why is that so? It's because we don't have sufficient legislation that will safeguard their interest in ensuring that the value attained from the raw materials that they extract from the gold deposits is accrued back to them. This gold refinery bill shall ensure that the gold that is sold from this country is actually sold in processed form and not as raw materials, thus generating foreign exchange for the country, creating additional employment positions for many unemployed youths, stabilizing our currency that has been volatile before. And ultimately, I am very confident that through the additional resources generated by our country, we shall be able to reduce our very huge debt burden to our taxpayers. Madam Speaker, you will also note that we have given specific countries that have undertaken similar legislation, and we have seen the benefit that have been accrued by those legislations. We have given an example of Russia and Sudan, and we know that if we follow through the same path, the contribution of gold to our GDP shall significantly increase. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I second this very important bill. Thank you.
Very well. Honorable members, I therefore propose the question that the Gold Processing Bill, National Assembly Bill number 46 of 2023 be read a second time. The first chance I'll give to member for Kakamega, Honorable Elsie.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this chance to put my voice to this bill. First of all, I want to thank the Honorable Shinali for raising such an important bill. Noting that, Madam Speaker, I come from this area. I was born in Bushangala, and this is an area that will greatly benefit from this bill. Madam Speaker, this bill touches on research and development. Right now, Madam Speaker, gold mining, both in Shinyalu, Ikolomani, and other areas, is being done in a very unstructured manner. And Madam Speaker, sadly, recently, we lost our dear brothers. We lost Franklin Alulu from Shitoli area. We lost Isaac Ligami from Lirembe. We lost Boniface Aluwala from Shinyalu during the mining. And the reasons being that they are mining in crude areas. They are mining where, if you go to those mining places, the gold shafts are not safe. These miners are mining without proper artisanal skills. And while we lost these members, Madam Speaker, even the rescue, it was difficult to rescue them because we do not have rescue skills. So, Madam Speaker, I do support this bill, and I know it will go a long way in supporting our miners all over Kenya who are doing it in a very unstructured way. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Very well. The next chance will go to the Chair, Departmental Committee on Environment, Forestry and Mining, Honorable Gekaria.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. From the onset, let me thank my brother, Berat Shinali, from Ikolomani, Member of Parliament Ikolomani, for bringing this very important. Honorable Speaker, we have, as a country, where mining has not been taken seriously. And Honorable Speaker, what Honorable Shinali has done will go a long way in transforming and regulating the mining sector. Honorable Speaker, it has come to our notice, and I want to thank His Excellency the President for accepting to have a police unit within the ministry. And not only the police unit now, they have even brought a DCI unit. Honorable Speaker, most of our precious minerals get their way out of this country, particularly gold, just to name as a precious our strategic mineral. Honorable Speaker, it is unfortunate that our gold is continued being smuggled out of this country, and we only get very little money out of. But what Honorable Shinali's the gold processing, that is before us, will go a long way to address this problem. Honorable Speaker, the functions of a cooperation that has been mentioned in that will include to collect samples, purify, smelt, fabricate, register, refine, and monitor, and transport. And Honorable Speaker, that is what has been lacking, to an extent where our gold, most of it is taken out of this country raw as it is, and we don't get value. And as Honorable Ikana had indicated, as a committee, we were projecting to have around the mining sector contributing significantly in the GDP. Honorable Speaker, the national standard for operating a gold refinery has been stipulated very clearly in that bill. And we had an opportunity, Honorable Speaker, to visit a few countries, including China. And we saw what was happening, and this could go a long way in assisting even the locals, Honorable Speaker, particularly the artisanal miners. Honorable Speaker, you understand how the process of getting gold from underground. Honorable Speaker, it has been done haphazardly. And as a ministry, they came up with even to start cooperations or cooperatives for the artisanal miners so that they can be able to reap the maximum benefit away from the middlemen who usually come. You find a gram of gold that an artisanal miner has that goes maybe in the market for around 40,000. The middlemen just offer some 5,000, 3,000, and it is becoming unacceptable, Honorable Speaker. So the international accreditation, as Honorable Shinali has indicated in his bill, will help this country not only gold that will be gotten from Kenya or mined here in Kenya. Then we can also have our neighboring countries. If you have your gold, then it can come here for purposes of processing and accreditation. It will give Kenya a very, very strong position in the country. Honorable Speaker, some of the funds which will go towards that, and that was the question that was being asked, Honorable Speaker, is that why are we are trying to minimize the wage bill. Where are we going to get these funds? Honorable Speaker, these monies will be, we'll ask the National Assembly to allocate money for this purpose. And of course, the corporation again will have a way of receiving gifts, grants, donation, so that it can be able to sustain itself. Honorable Speaker, the bill contains provisions relating to application of processing license. And this is again something that you find today. You ask for a license to trade in gold. Honorable Speaker, it takes you years for you to get a license that only costs 2,000 shillings. Then you have to be taken, I don't know from which office to what corner. So this bill has simplified that you will get, I know of a colleague who has been trying to get this license for the last 25 years. Actually, he came to my office complaining and said, but we told them, just give us time. Once this bill goes through, then it simplifies the process of you getting a license to trade or to do the actual processing of gold. Honorable Speaker, my committee had an opportunity to do public participation, Honorable Speaker, and we placed an advert. The clerk placed an advert in our local dairies on the 20th of October 2023. Honorable Speaker, it was for a purpose of people giving their memoranda towards this as enshrined in Article 118(1)(b) of the Constitution and the Standing Order number 123C. Honorable Speaker, we invited the State Department of Mining and also the National Gender and Equity Commission for them to be able to give their views. Additionally, Honorable Speaker, my committee visited Kericho, Kakamega, Migori, Kilifi, Taita Taveta, Kwale, where we got oral submission from the people who are, and we had a very wonderful conversation, particularly with the artisanal miners. And Honorable Speaker, they were very happy that this bill would be going, if it goes through, it is going to address most of the problems that they were undergoing, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we considered the bill with a lot of thoughts, and we undertook, I think, not less than 8 meetings for us to be able to arrive at the conclusion that it was important for this bill to find its way on the floor of this House, and then we can be able to make progress. Honorable Speaker, If you look at, we had an opportunity to visit South Africa. They usually have a very big expo on mining only, particularly on gold, purely on gold. And Honorable Speaker, if you look what the South Africans, what they have done and the amount of money that what the mining sector, particularly the gold aspect, contributes to GDP, Honorable Speaker, you will not believe it. Because all we just need, we have so much gold in this country. After we spend so much money on the aerial geosurvey, and we found out we have 971 different minerals. And out of that, Honorable Speaker, 27 are called strategic minerals. One of them is the gold. And I want to say these strategic minerals, if we are able now to enact, because we have some amendments in the Mining Act to incorporate the 27 strategic minerals, this country we will never, just like any other, we will never be asking money from the ministry. Actually, the contribution will go upwards of almost up to around 7 to 8% contribution of the gold only. And it's only all about what the country is going to get. Honorable Speaker, the royalties that will be received will go back to benefit the county governments and the locals who are actually undertaking this business. And for you, Honorable Speaker, as we also talk about this, I know it is a process that we are trying to minimize so that, again, you don't have a lot of, because for you, if you want to do the gold business, then it is very cumbersome that you have to get consent from the owner of the land, the county government, and people are getting a lot of frustrations from county government for them to be able to get those licenses to start operating. So again, we are trying to simplify, where if I am interested in doing some business in the gold sector, then I should not spend more than the 25 years only to get a license that you require. So with those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I totally support my brother Bernard Shinali for coming up with such a very, very good bill that will go and address most, and not only, we are not talking out of the 971. We start with gold, and then we can be able to bring the other minerals thereafter. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support.
Thank you. Honorable Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I must start by appreciating the Honorable Shinali for coming up with such a progressive bill as far as a very precious mineral is concerned, and that is the gold. Honorable Speaker, I speak as a person who has some little interest in such area and with practical experience of what we go through as people who engage in such business. To run this business, Honorable Speaker, is in itself, even assembling the machinery and even the people and everything that comes with it, is an uphill task. Right from purchasing land, there is something, Honorable Speaker, that is called the prospecting license, where there is no substantive one, where you get an individual acquiring a huge tract of land in one particular area. I mean, acquiring a huge area in terms of the prospecting license. You get, for example, in places like Siaya, places like some place in Kakamega County, Honorable Speaker, a place called Kitigu, where you get a single person having such prospecting licenses from the Ministry of Mining because of lack of harmony and lack of cohesion between different departmental heads, or rather different departments of government, or even county government and national government. A person gets that prospecting license in one large area. An innocent buyer of land acquires that piece of land without the knowledge that that particular land has got some gold mine beneath the land that is bought, is acquired. And when this person decides to start investing in that particular area, you get this huge person, a person who picked the prospecting license, head in arms, coming with police officers, mining officers, saying, I'm the only one who is supposed to mine in this area. You've got to give me this amount of money for you to mine in your own land that you've acquired in that area, because that prospecting license is given to particular people.
And that is the challenge you're having. Then there is the question of the county government, like the Honorable Gikari has said. The other licenses that you've got to pursue from the county governments. In fact, nowadays, and I'll be very particular in one of the county governments, they sometimes introduce particular levies to particular miners because there is no, the system is not synchronized. I dare say, for example, Honorable Speaker, that about 2 weeks ago, some small company that have an interest in Honorable Speaker was told to remit about 20,000 for transportation of materials from where the stones are being picked to the processing site. And that is only limited to that particular company. And it's in Kakamega County, Honorable Speaker. So those are the challenges that people who engage in this business are doing. And sometimes, Honorable Speaker, we also have very huge investors or foreigners coming into this place, in this in our land, Honorable Speaker. They engage the locals. They again call themselves artisan miners, using our young people without particulars, without proper structures. There are no, this whole system, Honorable Speaker, hasn't been synchronized in a way that you can know who takes what, who should be paid what are the risks. Because getting even to the reef, it's a different world altogether. Honorable Speaker, I'll confess, people go deep, several meters, Honorable Speaker, and there is a different world altogether down there, where we have even new street lighting down there, Honorable Speaker, and that is in the process of looking for that precious gold. The risk that comes with that needs to be checked, and that is why this bill is very important. Even on the amendments, there are so many things that we really need to look at, because I have taken keen interest in this business, Honorable Speaker, for the past 7 years, and I know what it takes. So I have seen people taking advantage of lack of knowledge or lack of exposure of our young people back in those areas where we have such precious stone. And because I've been keen on this industry, Honorable Speaker, I know we have that precious stone in Vihiga. I know we've got that precious stone in Siaya County, Honorable Speaker. And although we have, in Drongo it's very limited, that is Migori. Although in Drongo we largely have the copper in the part of the border between ourselves and the other ones. I've tried to engage in that line too, Honorable Speaker. But the process of even getting this, to date there is not a single person with a mining license, a pure mining license. What the issue, Honorable Speaker, is actually the processing license. So you process, you have a license of processing, the processing license, but you have no mining license. What you have is a prospecting mining license. So where do they expect you to get this particular product, or rather these stones, so that you can be able to process? They give you such. And then we also have cartels in the business who sponsor, they sponsor people to take investors in court. They take they use the police officers and such. This bill is going to realign the systems of operations of the mining sector, of the gold mining. We have a precious stone, Honorable Speaker, in this country. And I confess, it is actually, in some areas, it gets up to 89%. In Siaya, it's almost at 92%, Honorable Speaker. In Vihiga, it's about 86%. So this is a place that you can really invest in. And this will be able to help. We have a reef in Kitui, Honorable Speaker, that is not tapped. And the county government declines to give licenses because they have no clear structures. They decline to even dispose of such particular pieces of land. So I particularly came to this, displayed my interest in this bill, Honorable Speaker, because I have the vast experience on what this whole thing is about. And I want to congratulate the Honorable Shinali and tell him that going forward, as we move to the next step, we must put our hands together. Right from the point of acquiring the lands, to the point of licensing, to the point of processing, and to the point of safety, and finally to the point of disposal and sell, and selling, and of course export. Because even in that line, also, Honorable Speaker, is also a challenge. We've got a lot of middlemen and conmen midway when you are doing the exports. We've got so many people. By the time you want to dispose of 1 kg of gold, Honorable Speaker, in this country,